I am going to record so that way everybody knows what's going on. But today is Tuesday, November 12th, and to follow along with our learning intentions and our success criteria today, that students will be able to use skills learned to perform well in interview situations. And the aspect that we're going to be working on today is that students can recognize aspects of elevator speeches and write their own. We're also going to give you some materials which you guys already collected from the front table, but I'll go over those in just a moment, that will also help in the interview process. So today our focus is going to be interviews, but specifically the elevator speeches that help you answer one of the most commonly asked questions or statements in an interview process. So that's what our goal is today. When you guys entered the room, I told you to direct your attention to the left-hand side of the board and to grab what it said. So you were supposed to grab the mock interview expectations handout. So hopefully you did that, and that's what this looks like. At the top it says mock interview expectations. And then you also should have grabbed the mock interview rubric, which again, at the top says mock interview rubric, real tough right there. And then I told you to get the interview sheet that matches the option that you have chosen. So there were 6 options that you had to choose for this interview process. You could have done sales associate, which is on the blue sheet. Purple is general laborer. Green, office intern. The 4th one was food service on the yellow sheet. Then on the goldenrod or orange sheet, or whatever you want to call it, is the college scholarship. And then on the orangey peach sheet is the CNA option. So whichever one you've been doing your materials about, that's the one you should have grabbed. So did everybody grab those 3 handouts that you should have? Okay. So before we go into our lesson today on elevator speeches, I would like to go over these pieces, because as soon as something is sitting in front of you, most of you don't pay attention to what I'm talking about. You pay attention to whatever's in front of you. So let's just go over it. So the very first thing that you should see is your your interview expectations. I want you guys to look at this sheet, because this is something that I shared with our interviewers yesterday. They know what the expectations are going to be of you as students, and they know what the expectations are going to be of them. I am not going to take time to read through this sheet with you. It is now in your possession. You should know what I'm expecting. If you don't know what I'm expecting, read over it. Okay? And then if you have questions or need clarification, I would be happy to answer those. All right? But this is up to you now. So you've been given the expectations. You know what's going to be expected of the interviewers. Now get it done. All right? Any questions about this sheet before I move on? Why would it be wise for you to read through this?
Have a little extra guidance.
Okay, maybe have extra guidance as to what?
As to like how far, or like knowing what to expect.
Okay, so if you wanted to get an A on this opportunity, how do you do it?
Figure out what the interviewers are looking for.
Yeah, you figure out what they're looking for, you figure out what the expectation is, and then you do everything in your power to meet the expectation, right? Because that's how you're going to be graded. So I shared this sheet with the interviewers because I wanted them to know what I've gone over with you, because otherwise they wouldn't know. And I wanted them to know what they're going to be expected to do. And I'm sharing that side of it with you guys. So again, you can be as prepared as you choose to be. Some of you, because it's a concern to you to do your best in everything that you do, are going to take this, you're going to read it, and you're going to follow it to the T. Others of you are going to be like, yeah, I'll wing it. And whichever side of the spectrum you're on is probably going to determine how well you do, in all fairness. Okay, now let's look at your rubric. Why would it be important for you to see this?
So you know what we're graded on?
So you know exactly how you're going to be graded. How many interviews are you doing?
2, 3 tops.
2 interviews. I've decided I'll just say 2 interviews. So you're doing 2 interviews. That means you're going to get back how many rubrics? 2. Now you're seeing exactly how you're going to be graded here. Here is the criteria or the expectation, and then here's the point value. What do you notice about the point value? What do you notice about the point value? Is it possible to get over a 100?
Sure.
Yes. Is it also possible to get a 0?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. There's not a lot of room for in-between scores. it's either you meet the expectation, you're below the expectation, you're above the expectation, or you didn't even try. There's not a whole lot of in between. Okay? So you guys need to keep that at the forefront of your mind. If you are doing exactly everything the way you're supposed to, you're going to get a 100% and you're going to get everything scored right down this middle one that says meets expectations. That's the standard, right? That's where the 80 points comes from. If you add up all that stack, you got 80 points. If you do exceptionally better in an area, you have the ability to get higher than a 100% in that area. You also, if you don't meet the expectation, if you're below the expectation, it's double the amount that you could exceed. Okay, do you see that? That's very much on purpose. Because a negative in an interview is almost like 2 strikes to every 1 positive. It's kind of how the, as Candace and Kelsey here can maybe speak to, it's the critic's math. Okay, and you're going to learn about this later on when we get to chapter 11, when we talk about careers and taxes and stuff. But critic's math is for every negative, you got to make up for it like tenfold, basically is what it's saying. If somebody gives you a negative comment, it takes you a while to erase it, versus a positive comment, it kind of comes and goes, right? Same thing in an interview. When you make a negative mark against yourself, it acts harsher than the positives would act for you. So I want you to see that in your scores. So there's a reason for the scoring being that way. And then if it's not present or you didn't do it, it's a 0, right? Because if you didn't do it, then there's no way for them to score you, and that's not, you know, that's just fair. There's also an area for them to write some extra notes to you, to tell you if you would have gotten the job or not based on your performance. And there's like little criteria that it lists there. And then there's an area for your interviewer to also write some comments, something they really liked, something that they think you can improve upon. Everybody should have something in both of these boxes. None of you are going to do this 100% perfectly without any possible room for improvement. You still could get a 100% and have room for improvement. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you could meet expectations, but they could still give you some feedback that could be positive for you in the future.
Or if you get plus 2 points on everything, then you're perfect.
I'd be shocked, but I doubt that still makes you perfect.
I don't know, I beg to differ, but it's whatever.
Whatever. So there's your rubric. Would this be a good thing for you to review well in advance and make sure you're prepared for your interview?
Do we have to have
Yes, it
business
would be.
cards? It says cover letter.
We're going to get there. We're going to get there.
Really?
Yes.
Do you have Kleenex? By chance?
Yes, can I get them for you in just a moment?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so did everybody get their sheet up here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so each sheet is slightly different because it is specific to the career or whatever, but they're all set up pretty much the same. At the top, you have the name of the option that you chose. Then you have what that position does, so a little like job description, if you will, or a description of your scholarship opportunity if that's the one you chose. Then it gives the responsibilities of the job. If you have a college scholarship sheet, you don't see responsibilities because they don't exist. You're not going after a job, but you would need to explain your need for finances. So I would figure out a really good way to explain your need or your desire for funds to provide for your education and why that's important to you. And then the last thing on here are the requirements for the job. So you need to make sure that you know those things. You should have already reviewed these things as you're preparing your documents and stuff along those lines. But I want to draw your attention to the back. The back has a list of questions that will also be provided to your interviewers, and has actually already been provided to your interviewers, of questions that they should ask you during the interview. Most of them, because they're just as nervous as you are, interviewing is just as hard as being the interviewer, believe it or not, they will probably stick to this list because it's a comfort zone for them, okay? But they've also been told if they would like to add to it, they are welcome. In an interview, you can prepare, you can know the typical questions, but there's probably going to be something that catches you off guard, and that's normal. So I don't mind them coming up with something extra. But these are probably where most of them will stay. It would be wise for you to review these materials and know these questions as well as how you would respond to them. It would also be wise for you to probably record yourself responding to these questions so you know what your face does when when you respond. So you know what your hands do when you respond. So you can listen to your tone of voice, so you can listen to or see your body language, so you can hear the way that you're responding. Maybe you say the same word over and over and over again, or the same phrase over and over and over again, and you think, ooh, that sounds awful. At least you know it before you're going into the room and have time to fix it. So I would suggest knowing the answers to these questions, practicing them, and then also recording yourself and playing it back. Okay, if you were an athlete, you would do the same thing. You would study the other person's playbook or watch their film and see what they do and figure out how you're going to combat it. This is the other person's playbook. You know it, so now you need to work to combat it. Okay, and then the recording aspect, after you do a performance, you record it, you watch it back, you see what you did, you see what you did well, you see what you did poorly, you try to fix the poor. That's what you need to do with this interview. It's a game, and you're out to win. That's what it is. Any questions about these questions? Now you will notice every single one of yours starts with the same question. Doesn't matter if you have the scholarship, it doesn't matter if you have a job or if it's a different job than somebody else. Every single one of yours lists starts with the same statement or question. What is it?
Tell me about yourself.
Tell me a little bit about yourself, or tell me about yourself. That is the number one most commonly asked question in their interview, and it makes sense because they want to learn about you and they want to hear what you want them to know about you. And so that's where our focus is going to be today. We're going to talk about the elevator speech, is what we like to call it. Really, all it is it's the answer to this question. Tell me a little bit about yourself. But we want to make sure that you make it the best possible answer, because this is part of that first impression. And remember, first impressions are extremely important, and you want to set a really good one from the start. And so, your elevator speech, or your answer to tell me a little bit about yourself, is a quick 30-second to maybe 2-minute max speech that you're going to give about you. And it should be well prepared. And it should include certain aspects, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So I want to kind of revert and move on. If these pages are going to be a distraction to you, put them somewhere so they're not a distraction to you. But I want you to go to Schoology, and I want you to open up the assignment called Elevator Speeches Assignment. It might be in your notifications, since I just posted it this morning. If it's not in your notifications, then you can go through the hurdle of folders. But that is Schoology. What do you do? It does look like this when you get it open. It should say elevator speech, tell me about yourself, your 30 seconds to impress. So when you get it up, that's what it should look like. Huh? Yes. Yes, do you have something to train me? Do you trust me to walk it
Well, I
up?
guess it may not be next week. Let me see.
When's the mock?
Next Friday.
That time has come, folks. That time has
And then
come.
what are we doing Monday? Isn't that the ACT prep for those who signed up?
The Monday after
Yeah.
career day, yes.
So do the people that aren't doing that? Do we just have regular classes?
I'm really trying to figure that out. It's supposed to be regular class.
But I doubt we're actually going to do stuff.
I'm really trying to figure that out because I don't want you guys who are participating to miss out on something that you have to make up. But I also don't want those who are here to just get like a free day. So I'm trying to figure that out. I don't know the perfect answer yet.
For what?
Because I don't want those of you who are at the ACT prep thinking, oh, I should have gone to class instead. Because I think it's a valuable piece. So I'm trying, yeah. It's a very difficult position for us teachers because it's also right before a break.
So you don't want to get into something.
Oh, when is
Yeah.
break?
After
The week after career day, there's those 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, that we have off. Yes. I've heard some teachers dub it as No Teach November. But, you know, kind of as like No Shave November, you know.
Yeah.
But it's kind of
Don't
sad,
say that.
sad but
Don't
true.
say it.
What? I missed what he said.
I didn't say anything.
I said some teachers, I didn't say I. Some teachers.
I
Okay.
think you should take it up.
You're meaning I'm working you too hard?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Leadership
We've
is-
got something to do. Alright, has everybody got their sheet open?
Yep.
Okay. So your elevator speech worksheet, this is what it looks like. Notice the instructions say, please read each elevator speech and highlight the 5 aspects listed below. Please use the same colors to highlight so I can easily see if you found all the parts. So that's what we're eventually going to do. But first, let's talk about what are the 5 aspects of an elevator speech. So the big letters here, the all cap letters are the ones I really want you to pay attention to. The little information after it is kind of just helpful if you need it. But the big letters here are really the important pieces. So you need to share and open with about you. Now in an interview setting, by the way, an elevator speech does not have to just be used in an interview setting. Okay, it's really meant to be a networking connection, like introducing yourself thing. But it works really well in an interview as well. Okay, so know that you can go up to any person at Career Day and start your elevator speech with them, even if it's not the mock interview, and that's a really good way for you to connect and maybe make some networking opportunities. But we're going to use it for the answering of the question, tell me a little bit about yourself. So the very first piece of it is going to be opening up about you, and that's why it's okay to introduce yourself again. Even if you just walked into the interview and shook their hand and said, hello, my name is whatever, the moment you sit down, they're going to ask you, tell me a little bit about yourself. And it's okay to say, well, again, my name is so-and-so, and then jump into your little elevator speech. So it's okay to reintroduce yourself, because is it somebody who knows you and knows you well? Probably not. So if they did, it'd be a little weird to repeat that, but if they don't, they're probably appreciating that you repeated it, because nobody really, unless you're just a self-proclaimed really good at names person, is going to be offended that you said your name twice. Okay? It's going to be helpful to everybody involved. Okay? So you're going to open with a statement or a question or introducing yourself to grab their attention. Then you're going to explain what you have to offer. What makes you the person that is sitting before them today trying to get this job? What do you have that sounds really good? Now, some of these things that I'm telling you are going to sound like things that came directly from your what?
Resume?
Not your resume, your cover letter, right? A lot of these things sound very similar to stuff that comes from your cover letter. And it's okay to steal, but don't make it a direct repetition. All right? The next piece, what are the benefits? What sets you apart from other people? Okay, what makes you the better one to choose, but in a not too cocky of way? All right? How do you do what you do? So give very specific examples. If you are really good at paying attention to detail, you can say that, but then tell how you know that. What are some things that you've done that prove that you're good at paying attention to detail? Or if you say, I'm a really hard worker, give some concrete examples. Don't just say I'm a hard worker. Or if you think you're great at time management, share why you think you're great at time management with actual examples. So this is the part where you get down to the nitty gritty, because you're telling them, not only do I believe this about myself, but here's the proof. Okay, and that's what you need to do. So add some examples in there, and then at the very end, there needs to be a call for action. They need to know very clearly that you're done talking and that you're ready for them to either move on with the interview or that you have a question for them in response to what you're doing. So you could, at the end, say, so, I'm so excited about this opportunity that you have available. Please share with me how you think I would make a good fit for your business, or something like that. Or you can say, and so I'm really excited to learn more about what this business has to offer, or something along those lines. Because now they know they are clearly done talking, and I'm ready to move on, and I either am ready to ask the next question or I'm ready to answer their question. But it needs to be very clear. It shouldn't be like the awkward, and that's all I have to say about me. Okay, you're not literally giving a speech. We just call it an elevator speech because it can be given in a short amount of time. Okay, does that make sense? So those are the 5 things that need to be included. A little about you, what you have to offer, what are the benefits, what makes you better than the others, how do you do it, so giving specific examples, and then a clear closing or a call to action on their part. All right, those are the pieces that need to be included. So let's look at some examples. Samantha here, okay? And you guys should have this sheet, so feel free to follow along on yours. Hi. My name is Samantha Atchison, and I'm a senior environmental science major. So Samantha's a college student. I am looking for a position that will allow me to use my research and analysis skills. Over the past few years, I have been strengthening these skills through my work with a local watershed council on conservation strategies to support water quality and habits. Eventually, I'd like to develop educational programs on water conservation awareness. I read that your organization is involved in water quality projects. Can you please tell me how someone with my experience could fit into your organization? Okay, now this would work for the tell me about yourself question, but this would also work if she met somebody in water conservation and wanted to go and try and make a connection. Either way, this would work. You can see that I went through and I highlighted where the different portions were. Below Samantha's example, you've got an example from Alex, and you've got an example from Brad. What I would like for you to do is on your own, read through those examples and identify the 5 different pieces, highlighting them just the way that I did. And then, what does it say below those examples? You're going to write your own. And what are you going to do with your own after you've written it?
He'll finish writing my own.
You're going to highlight the components and make sure you have all the components. Do they have to be in order? They don't. The first one should still be first and the last one should still be last, but the 3 in the middle, they're fluid. As long as they're included, that's the important piece. Okay, the call to action can't be in the middle and then you just keep talking. And you can't wait to introduce yourself to the end. That would just be silly. So those ones have to stay where they are, but the middle ones can be fluid.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, because some of the things that I would include in my elevator speech would be the things that Chipotle has taught me. So
Yeah. So from my previous experiences, some skills that I have learned are, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it okay if I steal that video of where you say it's okay to steal and then just take it out of context?
Sure. Soundbite. Anything else? Okay. So that is your assignment today, is to really work on developing your elevator speech. But here's where else this is going to be important. This is due, this completed assignment, so looking at the examples, highlighting them, writing your own, highlighting it, is due by tomorrow at 8:15. That's the rest of the class period that you're going to have to work on this, and then anything you don't finish is homework. Okay? But tomorrow we're going to do some Starbucks mode, working on the questions that I gave you today to prepare for your interview. And then Thursday, we're going to do a little speed interviewing activity where you're going to do some rotations and practice talking to each other and asking each other questions and giving each other answers in interview mode. But you're also going to come to me in one of the rotations, and guess what I'm going to ask you?
Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Tell me a little bit about yourself. And guess what I'm going to expect to hear?
An elevator speech.
Your elevator speech. So not only do you need to complete this assignment and get it turned in, but what do you also need to be working on? Memorizing your elevator speech. Because Thursday, you're going to have to perform it for me. Now, it's not a true performance, but you do need to be ready to give it. And it should sound natural. It shouldn't sound like, oh crap, I forgot that part. If you forget a part, am I going to know? No. It's kind of like a piano recital. Did any of you ever take piano lessons when you were younger? I did. Okay? Nobody else knows the song better than you. So if you mess up, just keep moving on because nobody else knows it. Same thing with the elevator speech. If you mess up, nobody else knows that you messed up, so just keep pushing through. It's all about your body language and the facial expressions that you give that are going to give it away that you messed up if you did. Nothing else is going to give it away. All right? So practice, 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 but if you mess up, push through. All right? Also, one little assignment that I posted today as well is this one. Did anybody happen to see it yet? Okay, I posted the interview attire assignment. What I would like you to do sometime between today and Tuesday at 8:15 a.m., I would like you to try on what you plan to wear for your interview, all the way from head to toe, and then guess what I want you to do?
Take a picture.
Take a picture and send it to me from head to toe. I'm not doing this because I want pictures of all of you.
You got a Snapchat?
I do not. So I'm not doing this because I want pictures of all of you, but I want you to post your picture to Schoology because I want to make sure that you've put some thought into what you're wearing for the interview day and that you're not waiting till the last second to decide. Plus, if you have it ready to go by Tuesday, Are you pretty much, starting to be in the mode of ready for your interview Friday? Yeah. So it's really meant to be a help to you, but it's also the way I'm going to check and make sure that you did it, and I'm going to give you points for getting it done and done on time. So, sometime between today and Tuesday at 8:15 a.m., take a picture of yourself in your interview attire. I'm giving you over the weekend because if it's something where you're wanting to get something or something along those lines and you're planning on waiting, I'm giving you the weekend as well.
Oh, now and next Tuesday?
Yes, between now and next Tuesday.
Oh,
So
okay.
you've got a week here. Something we've been talking about. Does everybody understand what you're supposed to wear for these interviews? Have we gone over it enough that I don't need to continue going over it?
Yes.
Okay. So it's also a way for me to check and say, yeah, they were listening. They know what we've been talking about. Okay. So for the rest of this hour, we're working on the elevator speech assignment, and then you can move into working on some of the other things if you need to after this is done and turned in. If you would like to work in the computer lab on a computer to do it, you may do so. So get busy. I'm here if you need me. I'm going to also pass back your reference sheets to you, or anything else that you've turned in to me.
Do you want me to turn this off?